I know that my dad flogged my mum, would drag her up and down the hallways by her hair in front of his mates and they would do nothing. I know that he knocked her out one day down the back stairs and she woke up, she didn't know she had kids.
Years ago, I wouldn't even tell anybody. I think it was feeling ashamed of letting a man bash her around and not doing anything about it.
We used to have to do a lot of running because sometimes, he used to have a shotgun. Threatened to get a gun, come back with the gun and shooting me mum.
These women are called the Ginders, a Gumbaynggirr word for sisters. They're bonded by a shared experience.
The Ginders, we've all experienced domestic violence, but we're all passionate about ending domestic and family violence. We range from, I think, 35 up to, I'm not going to guess those old ladies.
Indigenous women are up to 35 times more likely to experience domestic or family violence. For Rachel, some of her first memories are of violence.
I loved my dad, but he was a pretty nasty fella with my mum. I know that every time they would fight and he would leave, he would take me with him because he knew that mum would never leave without one of us kids. And then one day he forgot to take me and she packed one suitcase and just left.
But for Rachel's family, the violence began long before she was even born.
My grandmother, domestic violence isn't what killed her, but the effects of it are, if that makes sense. She was a very traumatised woman. And then my pop's mother, she was murdered by her husband, and then her grandmother was murdered by her husband. You know, all Aboriginal women, and nothing was ever spoken about.
On top of the 3 members of her family she's lost, Rachel's closest friend also died at the hands of her partner.
I think it was about 15 years of DV calls to the police, and unfortunately she was in that cycle and she had to go back because of the financial abuse, because he would threaten the children, because he would threaten to say that he was going to go after her mum and her family. So she was really stuck. I was driving down the highway, down the freeway, and I nearly had an accident because I got the phone call then.
How many years has it been now?
About 14 years now, and it's still just as raw. Yeah, absolutely. It shattered everything, but that moment I just went, no more. We need to start supporting these women that need that voice.
Rachel lives in Grafton in the Clarence Valley of northern New South Wales. Last year, the Coffs Clarence district recorded the second highest number of AVO applications for domestic violence in the state. And over the past 10 years, domestic assaults have increased by 4.6% each year.
Primarily the service is in high demand 24/7, 52 weeks of the year.
Nav Navratil runs the local service for victims of domestic and family violence, where Rachel also works. They provide support and crisis accommodation.
We've got 5 bedrooms, so 5 adults and maybe 3 or 4 kids in each room. I'd say a quarter of our client group are Indigenous women and children. Unfortunately, because of the numbers that come through, we do have to turn some women away.
In response to the overwhelming demand, the region recently got funding for a 24-hour emergency service with more on-call accommodation for women in crisis. But for some Indigenous women, there are many more barriers to accessing these services.
Systemic racism, no trust, judgment, intergenerational trauma. All of these things play a massive role on why violence is so predominant in our communities. Women don't report because of, the fear of losing their children.
With Aboriginal people, you've had decades of, excuse the language, white fellas coming telling us how to live, what to do, how we should bring our kids up, and they haven't done a good job.
When they can be saying things like, Oh, give us a ring back when it's all over and done with, you know.
Or not turning up.
Oh,
Yeah. Or, oh yeah, I know that mob.
Yeah.
Or I know that family.
And once
so
you mention the street, they say, oh,
Yeah.
not bothered.
It was the death of one local Indigenous woman, Lynette Daly, that galvanised this community. Lynette died in 2011 after being sexually assaulted on a beach an hour north of Grafton, with the two men walking free for more than 6 years. For many, Lynette's case was yet another example of violence against Clarence Valley's Indigenous women going unpunished.
that was one of those things when we just went, we need to do something. We had a protest in Grafton here about the Lynette Daly case, and we tried to get a heap of signatures together.
With public pressure growing, last year the case hit national news.
The bloodied and battered body of the mother of 7.
The death of 33-year-old Indigenous
The coroner
woman.
said she bled to death from a sex act she was subjected to.
The two men are now awaiting sentencing for charges of sexual assault and manslaughter.
It had to hit the media, like to get that real intense thing going, because otherwise little old Grafton, nobody was listening. We're having women present with, you know, extensive brain trauma, with police not responding in the correct way.
The police declined to be interviewed about these allegations, but they gave this statement.
New South Wales Police are committed to making perpetrators accountable and targeting repeat offenders while ensuring every victim is supported. Police respond to all domestic and family violence incidents when reported, and any indication officers do not attend are incredibly concerning.
I only got a lighter.
I'd like to acknowledge each and every one of us here today.
As an unfunded women's circle, the Ginders provide support from within the community and have also raised money to build this bush shelter.
We need somewhere safe, and we've got it.
If you get these women and take them out of this intense community or out of town and you put them in the bush, it automatically takes away their stresses.
Women have been through it, so they're the best teachers.
I honestly believe it's our issue as a whole. These cycles need to break. We need to change the status quo. We need to shake everybody up.